KCBZRadio.com.
When we look at modern man, we have to face the fact that modern man suffers from a kind of poverty of the spirit. We've learned to fly the air like birds, we've learned to swim the seas like fish, and yet we haven't learned to walk the earth as brothers and sisters.
Yo, man, I love what I'm hearing. But now that you got this platform, who are you inviting?
This is for the entrepreneurs growing conscious and pure, keepers of the sacred, dreaming up the greatness, survivors who inspire us just as living proof. This is for you. This is for the youth on the rise with the future in their eyes, those who save lives as a day-to-day grind. If you seek with open minds the divinity of truth, then this is for you. So welcome to the club. Yes. Welcome to the flow. Here we go, yo. Blessings. This is your host, Repertoire, reporting, occupying the Loni Miwok territory here once again to bring the ceremony of liberty, the celebration of liberty. And our theme tonight is old school Jamaica. We're gonna be rocking with some ska, some rock steady, some dance hall, some reggae. I want to highlight this genre because there's so much culture in it without it. In it, all of it. The creation of it, and we're about more culture, less color here at the Flow. So, but we have a special guest as well, who I feel is another curator of culture. This gentleman right here gets an A+. He's a big kid in a small world. He's an artist, activist, and author. And my man is just multi-talented. And we met 7 years ago and through mutual friends. And it's just a pleasure to have him on the Flow. And just his energy is a beautiful thing. So big Freedom Flow, welcome to my man.
Yeah. Blessings. Peace and blessings.
Aaron Abel, man. Got you on the Flow. How you feeling?
I'm so grateful to be here, Randy. It's such a blessing to be with you all.
Bless. Yeah, so on this episode, well, first off, I believe it was like 7 years ago. I believe I met you once before, Erica and I were involved with that counseling program. So I think I met you there, and I know you were mutual friends with Amani. But so what do you remember about us meeting and our paths crossing?
I remember music, hip hop. I remember us ciphering in the car somewhere in West Berkeley. It was heart, man. It was a heart connection. And yeah, I always appreciated the power of art to bring us together, you know what I mean? And just dissolve and really break down those walls that society is suffering from.
Blessings. And I feel like I did see you recently at Amani's house, and I got to meet your daughter for the first time. And for me, it's like time always tells. It's like we never separated. We caught up to each other so quickly, and it was just so beautiful seeing your seed and being able to just connect with her on that level. And so this it's just great to see you, man. It's
likewise.
So
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I love that we had a nice circle there, and folks were it's an amazing thing, community and all of its complexity and changes in the madness of this pandemic, and yet still the love continues. So I appreciate that positive energy, man, and my daughter feels it for sure.
Definitely. We're listening to some old school Jamaica what I'm saying? Like the OG stuff
Roots.
and yeah, the roots. So like the roots rock reggae. So like how might that music have influenced you in any way?
Oh my God, in every way, really. Obviously, Bob Marley was a huge part of my childhood, as he was for probably every child post 1970. I would say he influenced and changed the whole globe. But I've had some time to spend in Jamaica and in the Caribbean, and have been really moved by not just the one love, the power of one love and that message of the music, but also in the ways that it's played out into hip hop, in the ways that it's played out, just like you said, the power of culture and culture as a conduit for consciousness. That's quite a tongue twister, but you know, it really is through the music that we communicate messages and share our stories with the world. So that's how I learned about, you know, how I first got into anti-racism work was through reggae. And nobody told me it was anti-racism work. It was just we came together on the dance floor, and you know, it was just love. That was breaking down those barriers.
It's in the sound. So like that. So we're gonna get started with our first break. And before you talk about Bob, you know, they were the Wailing Wailers. You know, 1965, their first single, Simmer Down. So we're gonna start off with that ska and just work our way through. We're gonna get back to Aaron, back to the flow after this little break. Shouts out to Situation and Circumstance. Keep it locked. KCBC Radio.
Destination.
Long time people
Think all about bomb. The was all Jamaican. Little different style, different fashion. You know? Tell me say one thing Nancy can't understand. One thing Nancy can't understand. What make them a talk about me ambition? Say what make them a talk about me ambition? Come and say some of them a ask me where me get it from. Tell some of them a ask me where me get it from. I told them no no it's from creation. I told them no no it's from creation. Bam bam hey yo, what a bam 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 bam. You come in at the place and me say well slick. You bam bam hey yo, ta what ta bam 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 bilang bam 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 bilang bam bam hey yo, ta what ta bam bam hey yo, say what ta bam bam. That's some of them a sing you a come and shout them plan. I told them no no me a one business woman. Sister Nancy she a 1 in a 3 million. Sister Nancy she a 1 in a 3 million. So bam bam, say what time bam bam, bam bam bilang, bam bam, bam bam bilang, bam bam hey. Say go sister Nancy make you go. I tell you say fi go sister Nancy make you go. I know it from me head straight down to my toe. I teach her down sister Nancy on the go. And some of them a ask sister Nancy make you bad song. Long down the list sister Nancy make you bad song. He bam bam, what a bam bam, he bam bam bilang, bam bam, he bam bam bilang, bam bam, what a bam bam, hey, tell me say what a bam bam. This woman, I never trouble no one. I'm a lady, I'm not a man. MC is my ambition. I come feel nice up Jamaican, so bam bam. Say what a bam 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 bilang, bam 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 bilang.
Yeah, y'all. Blessings. So I collect 45s, and I have some of these joints, and I'm going to be holding them up intermittently because we need to tap into the groove. You know, the needle hits the record, and it just remembers the groove, and it reminds everybody of that. So we were just reminded way back with some old school with the Wailing Wailers with Simmer Down, 65, y'all. Then there was Kingston Town by Lord Creator in 1970, and that was Bomb Bomb, Sister Nancy in 1966. And I'm just thinking about, wow, like, you know, when I'm just looking through these old school records and these joints, like, there's not many female artists. You know, just I mean, just in general, I feel so for her to be repping and in 66, you know, especially in a genre that's still like growing and still thriving, and you know, just stand out. I feel like that's one of the reasons why she couldn't stand out, and just how much more grit and gutter she had to be to really stand out amidst all of that. So kudos to her, kudos to the feminine energy that's still making noise, that's going unheard. And just know that we're going to continue to, put those needles on those records for y'all. So, and for everybody. So blessings. Yes, go ahead.
And that's the feminine energy needs to lead at this point in time. And so having that solidarity as in whatever spectrum you express your gender, but the feminine lunar energy, I think is so needed, especially in politics, especially in, public and private life. Yeah. But like you said, in culture too, it reflects, and in a way it starts there, doesn't it? You know, like I mean, when you see hip hop changing, when you see what's going on in a lot of these young artists coming out in Africa right now, some amazing young female artists, it just gives me so much hope. And I'm the father of a daughter, so that's also my allegiance is really. I'm glad you said that. So big ups to Sister Nancy.
Yeah, definitely. And I also am a father to a daughter and a son to a mother. You know what I mean? And we are all children of the mother. You know, so yeah, right. So let's heal the womb and protect the children in that way, right? So we're here with Aaron Ableman, who just so elegantly spoke and just highlighted what I wanted to highlight. So thank you so much. Blessings. But anything else you want to share about that era of music or that genre of music?
My God, it's such a profound time in the world too, though. People don't often remember that was also simultaneously happening was the moonshot. We went to the moon. 1969 was it?
Yeah.
Right in that range though, and the world saw the earth for the first time in a new way, at least in modern times. Yeah. And I think that's profound that, the modern environmental movement, which arguably obviously the first environmentalists have always been original peoples all over the world. But in terms of the modern environmental movement, the first Earth Day happened right then too, 1970. So we're going on, we got this 50-year cycle about now, right? Where, it's interesting to look at history through music and to tune into that time of what else was going on. Just really, really fascinating to see all the history of that time.
Yeah, what I also love is that, you spoke to this place of like kind of getting involved in activism and getting involved in your stance and where you stand with that through the culture of that music. And, it being established in that way, I can imagine that like people doing this, modern day versions of this music, it's got to contain the roots of it. You know what I mean? Like country, that's what I love about country. It's like it stays true to its roots in a sense, and I feel like that's the problem with some of the genres that are kind of branch out too far or just like kind of losing themselves in the sauce. So I love and the pure. I'm a purist in that sense. On the flow, we're purists. You know what I mean? So I love that you love that. I love that you love that.
Yeah, there is something to be said for tradition and where ideas get passed down. You know what I mean? Because none of us are coming from a vacuum. Nothing's new under the sun. You know what I mean? So I feel like, having that awareness as to how our stories are passed down, how our songs are passed down, what kind of musical ideas, what sort of tropes and just pains of the pains and sufferings of those times too, and also just to acknowledge that a lot of this music has just come out of so much pain, and to think that out of that pain came so much beauty. That's ridiculous to me. That's such a powerful reminder that art really does provide a way to heal and to transform our broken hearts and turn them into something hopefully that's beautiful, or at least for ourselves. It doesn't always have to be that it's a mega hit.
It's the personal relationship one might have to their own creation. And I see it's almost as if like the toxins get filtered through the music and become medicine. If they're filtered correctly, right?
I like that metaphor.
Yeah, so we're going to continue on with more talking about that culture, because we're going to be in that genre, because we're going to be listening to more of it as we go through. But we're going to dive a little bit more into Aaron Ableman here, because there's a lot of things I'm curious about too. I feel like we've had some interactions, but we've never like just sat down and like chopped it up. And
this is our chance right here.
This is my sneaky way of making it happen, so don't tell nobody. But so we're gonna start with affinity right here. If you wouldn't mind completing these statements, please, Aaron, tell us one thing you've accomplished and will always take pride in.
Ooh, wow. Well, besides being a father, that's I always say I'm a one-time award-winning father, and that's my claim to fame. But also, to answer that, I think, you know, I've done a lot of great work in using music and using the arts to educate and empower young people and to mentor and uplift. I've had the chance to do that and catalyze careers and produce for projects that I'm really proud of. I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of my heroes, or those that have then become heroes to the world. So I think some of that work with youth has been a grounding point for me. I don't know if there's one specific, well, I worked on, I've worked on a project with the Earth Guardians, a global youth crew that focuses on environmental justice. And we did a song, actually I've done a few songs and music videos and some short films. But one project we did, actually, we planted 1 million trees in one day with communities all over the world. And I think I don't know if it's, the Guinness Book of World Records thing is kind of a weird idea for me because, but it was major, and it was all about using the music to activate and unify communities around this simple thing that everybody could do, which is plant trees according to your local bioregion, to do so in a way that's simple and accessible enough, and that's long lasting, because if communities are leading it, then it's going to have a longer caretaking life cycle, as opposed to, it
was given to you.
Yeah. So that was something I'm really proud of. And that led, I was able to present at the United Nations and the song won this award, became the song of the Paris Climate Talks, which was a really big global event. So yeah, it was a big deal for me in terms of just the simple idea of a song and a seed, boom, came together, and boom, it was like, wow, okay, we could do something, and it's been downhill ever since. But no, but yeah, it's things like that I've been a part of, that I haven't necessarily, had to have my name all over the headlines sometimes, but more just, I love just being a part of collective projects too.
Wow. I mean, you could probably we could have this whole episode about you going on your resume and just awesome things you did. Well, I know we're Destination Global. What I love is that I had this moment where it's almost like, it was like, Daddy, how are miracles made? Would you get a song? You get a C, then you just go downhill from there.
Yeah, that's the beginning of our next children's book right there.
And you almost answered all these, but I'm sure there might be a little bit more in here. So please tell us one way you help people and what you provide them.
Oh, wow. I mean, I think that I've said it a little bit, just that as an artist and a storyteller at heart, I think my role is really just to provide a lens, a megaphone, a microphone for the stories of our world. And that if I'm doing a good job, I can reflect what our times are talking about, at least from my ignorant perspective over here in this corner of the universe. But yeah, as a storyteller and my craft as a writer, which takes many forms, but that's something that I think I aspire to do, and that it's applied to families makes a lot of sense to me as well, because families are children, youth, parents, it's still a central part of the world. We all have some connection to our family some way, even if you didn't have a family, that's a part of your story, is, the archetype of family. So just to be able to serve those populations and do so in all these different ways and hopefully make it fun, that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, amidst all the other things that you're doing within that as well, So this last one here, and I'm imagining you're able to do what you do by example, you know. So can you please share with us maybe one person that you believe in and why you stand behind them?
Oh, wow. Well, again, it's funny because I have the personal lived model of my mother, and then I have more, you know, pop culture references, and I would say that the Dalai Lama is in that category for me, just as someone that has through thick and thin, having lost his homeland, lost everything, and had to, you know, basically banished for with impunity. And this spiritual leader basically just used compassion as a front and center. It's just and the joy and the comedy and the laughter of that man, and just as a beacon of hope, I think, for me, you know. So I want to lift up the Dalai Lama. I think that's, you know, and I actually had a chance to meet him once in India, and it changed my life forever. So that's what I'm gonna go with.
No, I'm feeling that, and I would imagine that His Holiness, His spirit, is unbreakable.
Yeah,
it's unbreakable. So thank you so much for sharing that, and, you know, getting a little bit more in depth. I mean, there's so many questions I have just from so much that you shared, but I feel as if, like, you know, it's always proper to, like, kind of go back to the beginning. So in this segment, we're gonna look at the roots to the fruits of Aaron right here. So if we can start at the roots, like, where were you brought up from? Where was the seed planted for you?
Yeah.
What was it like there?
Well, it's great that you use that metaphor too, because I was actually, my father's a farmer and my mother's a public health care nurse. Both are humanitarian at heart. My father is also an author, and so I was raised. Yeah, when I was born, I had a bizarre childhood. I think everyone probably has some elements of the bizarre in their childhood, but my experience was my own. I was born. My dad and mom answered a random ad in the newspaper. It turned out it was Michael Douglas's estate, the actor, and so they had vowed to have a home birth. They were hippies, and they had vowed to have a home birth. They ended up having me in Michael Douglas's basement, the actor. And so I was raised by working class parents, and yet all around me was the affluence of Hollywood. When I was about 1.5 years, we moved to the small farm, which I was raised on, and we grew 100 different fruits and vegetables for farmers markets, restaurants, fruit stands. It was hard work, just farm life. And when I was about 9 years old, this is the crazy thing, the whole neighborhood got bulldozed all around us. The neighborhood previously was nature corridor, you know, oak, mixed oak and farms. This is Goleta, the Good Valley, Chumash land, I should say.
Thank you.
Down in Santa Barbara County. And yeah, we were on this 12 acres. The whole neighborhood was nature. And then 8 years old, boom, the whole neighborhood bulldozed. And in a matter of 6 to 9 months, there was a smart bomb factory across the street, 22 fast food restaurants around us. And it was basically just wall to wall tract homes and fast food and
strip malls and
suburban urban sprawl, like just took over the whole neighborhood overnight, man. And when the owners of our land wanted to cash in and turn it into, they wanted to turn it into the same as they wanted cash Starbucks. In on the, yeah, exactly. And my dad basically, put a middle finger up and said, hey, this is going to remain a natural corridor. This is going to remain a farm. And so we actually fought and saved that land and set a national precedent, became actually a historic fight to save that small urban farm. It's now the Center for Urban Agriculture, Fairview Gardens. And so that really had a huge impact on me as a youth, as they say in Jamaica. To see the power of, I mean, because actually we use music and festivals to mobilize the community, raise money to save that land. And anyway, so I've taken that story with me all over the world, because I think it's true for people all over that there's struggles for land. I personally don't believe in ownership, which is a very, very controversial thing, especially these days, especially with what's going on in the news with Israel, Palestine, and the, Kashmir and India. People aren't talking. There's so many issues. So this to me felt like a symbol for hope and healing in how we can resolve and create community and solidarity on land through food and agriculture, the farm that I was raised on.
If you think I mean, that was a microcosm of the macro problem, right? Like that, so, I mean, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, it speaks so much to where your heart's at now and how you hold things. And I can't wait to hear more about that. And we're going to jump more into that after our next music break. So keep it locked. Right now, we're going to hear some Don Penn. No, no, no. You don't love me, because this is the joint, y'all. So keep it locked. We'll be back here. KCBC Radio, Destination Global, back with Aaron. Man, Youths Them Rise, Sound Selector, Don Penn. No, no, no.
No, no, no. You don't love me, and I know now. No, no, no. You don't love me as I know now. 'Cause you left me, baby, and I've got no place to go now. No, no, no. I'll do anything you say, boy. No, no, no. I'll do anything you say, boy. 'Cause if you ask me, baby, I'll get on my knees and pray, boy. No, no, no. You don't love me, and I know now. No, no, no. You don't love me, yes, I know now. No, no, no.
This one dedicated to the girl with the angel face and the devil heart. You know, so Ragamuffin Chaka, the most new car players come to deal in the case. Step up, my youth. Hear this.
I know this little girl, her name is Maxine. Her beauty's like a bunch of roses. If I ever tell you about Maxine, you older say I don't know what I know, but murder she wrote.
Real.
Murder she wrote. Murder she wrote. Murder she wrote.
Action on with him, a pretty face and bad character. Them the kind of living can hold chaka. Follow me. A pretty face and bad character. Them the kind of living can hold chaka. Say, girl, you pretty, your face it pretty, but your character dirty. Girl, you just a act too flirty. You run to Tom Dick and also hurry. And when you find your mistake, you talk about you sorry. Come now.
Have a cozy corner where she jokes and where she jam. She know about Luke, Jack and every money man. Make love with the coolie Chinese, white man and Indian. The wickedest kind of girl that suppliers go up and down. Now you heard about this girl, her name is Maxine. Her beauty's like a bunch of roses. And if I ever tell you about Maxine, you older say I don't know what I know, but murder she wrote.
Murderation, man.
Murder she wrote. Murder she wrote. Na. Murder she wrote.
Watch and now stand still. You not pay me like bill. If you're testing ragamuffin, girl, you go and get killed. Girl, keep wait. Cause you a crebe. And the lyrics when me talk, it me DJ, girl, come out. Because you nah shock out. And when you hear the ragamuffin, you have to jump and shout. Don't touch me gate. You not pay me what I read. Because great is great. You underrate. Follow me. You pretty face and bad character. Them the kind of living can hold chaka. Follow me. You pretty face and bad character. Them the kind of living can hold chaka. Say, girl, you pretty. You face it pretty, but your character dirty. Girl, you just a act too flirty. You run to Tom Dick and also hurry. And when you find your mistake, you talk about you sorry.
Now every middle of the year, this young girl have a passion for the coolie white and Indian mixing kill and his fan. And just the other day, me see her 6 months pregnant. Now she back and sweet again with not a baby in a prom. Do you heard about this girl? Her name is Maxine. Her beauty's like a bunch of roses. And if I ever tell you about Maxine, you older say I don't know what I know, but murder she wrote. Murder she wrote. Murder she wrote. Na. Murder she wrote.
Excuse me. Y'all never know so you stay. Ragamuffin Chaka, they must come to flash it same way. Oh, follow me. You pretty face and bad character. Them the kind of living can hold chaka. Follow me. You pretty face and bad character. Them the kind of living can hold chaka. So girl, you pretty. You face it pretty, but your character dirty. Girl, you just a act too flirty. You run to Tom Dick and also hurry. And when you find your mistake, you talk about you sorry. The girl a boss and a brag on, she look sexy. All she worship is pure vanity. The girl a boss and a brag on, she look ready. When she wash her clothes, it dirty. Girl, you not ready. If you can't cook for me, girl, you not ready. If you can't wash for me, girl, you not ready. If you know you're flirty, follow me. You pretty face and bad character. Them the kind of living can hold chaka. Follow me now. You pretty face and bad character. Them the kind of living can hold chaka. So stand still. You not pay me like murder she wrote. You keep wait. Cause you a crebe. And the lyrics when me talk. And if me DJ girl come out. Because you nah shock out. When you hear the ragamuffin, you have to jump and shout. Don't touch me gate. You not pay me what I read. Because great is great. You under it. Come now.
You heard about this girl, her name is Maxine. Her beauty's like
Yes. Ooh, man, that's the joint right there. And so you just heard Don Penn, No, You Don't Love Me. And that was Shaka Demus and Pliers with Murder, She Wrote. And that is the joint right there. Like, as I was doing some research.
Classic.
Yeah, right. Shaka Demus was the DJ and Pliers was the vocalist. And, there's that combo, right? And I just want to give shouts out to the DJ. Because the DJ isn't shouted out enough anymore. As an MC, shouts out to the DJs out there. We are here with Aaron Ableman. How you feeling?
I'm so blessed to be here.
So those two joints right there are classic because those are like 90s joints. I can remember going to like doing promotion for the Soul Rebel shows at like Studio Z or these other just joints, just around. And man, when that song came on, Murder She Wrote, man, like I went to this like one spot where like I just could feel the sweat in the room because everybody they was just going at it, right, just dancing for a minute. But that joint will get you going. It makes sense when you hear that. It gets me going. Any members you have around the song?
I miss those dance floors. I know they're coming back. There's hope on the horizon.
yeah, right. Awesome. So we're gonna continue this segment with an activity I made up. It's actually called "What Would Change If." Right? Because oftentimes we're like imagining these things, or just kind of, I'm a visual person, right? So it's like I visualize a change and then I make a change if it needs to change, or I visualize it changing and notice like the impact and I'm like, okay, no, not yet, So it's, kind of like in that sense. So in that thread. So for you, what would change if you had one wish granted? Anything?
What would change if I had one wish granted? It would just, to me, it would just be, I would never have to worry about money again. It just one thing just not to worry about, so that I can really be freed up to serve at, I have big dreams. I have big ambitions still. And I just, I want to be freed up at that level. To be able to really be able to serve, because love it or hate it, money is that's how we operate in this society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's just energy, and I love what you do with it. So moving on to the next one, what would change, in energy wise, what would change if you actually could control one of the four elements, like earth, wind, fire, or water, like Aang, the airbender or whatever, like you were the avatar in a sense.
Avatar.
Which one would you choose, and what would you change? Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Well, I would probably choose fire, earth, but I think fire is what first came to me. And what I would change, I would probably get right into how we burn things. I would probably get rid of the combustion engine, as it were, because blowing up things, whether that's for war or for transportation, or we use it in all these different ways, but we have better technology than just to be burning all left, right, and center all over the place. Yep. And that would get rid of the whole oil and gas industry, which to me would be a step forward right now with where we need to go with climate change and all these environmental problems. That's my lane too. So
I feel you. So that's what's up. So more fire to that. More fire. And then the last one here. So you are who you are as you are now, right? You know everything you know. You've developed into who you are. And so let's imagine that you wake up tomorrow and everyone on earth is 5 years old. Everybody. But what would change if you were also 5 years old, but you got everything you knew?
If I was 5 years old and I still knew everything that I know now, and everyone else is 5.
And they're desperate, like, what do we do, Aaron? How do you play this game? He took my cookie.
I guess I would probably teach everybody how to meditate. I don't know. Or just some social emotional learning. My daughter is 4.5, so that's actually interesting because I'm looking at her like some sort of mini me in a whole different way. But yeah, just wanting her to learn more about not being thrown by the emotional ups and downs or what other people say about her. Even at that young age in preschool, she's got to deal with socialization in ways. So social emotional learning, I think I would probably bring some of that to how we can just interact in better ways and not get so tripped up on all the BS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. I mean, yeah, I can only imagine just if at that age, one could actually get how significant having an anchor and to be grounded, like coming from that space and learning how much, like how that would influence all the learning that would take forth in that being. So thank you so much for sharing that. And we could treat this like a game. Like, just think about that frame. What would change if you could pitch any my way? I want to see how I'll be hitting tonight. Yeah, what you got?
Okay, what would change if you had the power of foresight? What would change in your future and or the collective future?
So if I had the power of foresight,
if you could see the future,
if I could see the future, what would I change? Wow, that's interesting, because this is all based on what I would see in the future, right? Wow. So what would change is that I would endow everyone with the same power. Somehow that would be part of like the power in that, like create something that can give everybody that foresight, because I feel as if we're no longer on the path blindly, then we're more likely to get to the destination more effectively and efficiently. So let that be the light, more fire with the fight. So
I like that answer. Yeah, that's fire. That's a,
you got one more?
Wow. Okay, well, maybe
you can have fun with it too, So
I was about to say something silly, something comical. So what would change, and I hope I'm understanding the equation still. What would change if you could make anyone laugh on Earth?
Wow,
what would you do with that power?
Oh, I don't know why I'm getting I love that. No, I love that. Okay, so here's what I would do. I would what I would do with that power is I would amplify their like just their willingness to laugh, and like whatever was in the way, I would knock down all those walls, because through the door of this humor is also our humility, right? That's why when we cry sometimes when we laugh. If you think about it, when you're laughing and when you're crying are probably the two like most significant times when you're letting yourself go. Right, and like because if people see you cracking up too much, you're like, oh, you got to tone it down. Or crying, same instance, right? Wow. Oh, I shouldn't do that, right? It has the same stigma. So humor and humility go hand in hand, right? And that's why comics are so powerful, right? That's why they have so much ability in that.
Human is also, there's some humor.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually how I learned it. It's the same root. The same root. So that's what I would do with that. And I can only imagine what would change, that having that wavelength open. So
let's make it happen.
For sure, definitely. And I want to thank you so much for just sharing, that story about the farm and the movement, and just the setting precedents, the monumental moment. And I can only imagine how that did mold and shape you as an 8-year-old, and but I'm also thinking about how the original things, the original spirit that kind of was guiding you has shaped and molded you. So I'm curious about what was that like? What did you dream of as a child?
Wow, I had a lot of, I don't want to say visionary dreams, but very active, lucid level dreaming. Some of which were not cool. Like I definitely remember having nightmares where I would exit my body and look down at my whole world from above. I also remember a lot, and this doesn't happen. This happens never these days, post-Trump era. But waking up laughing, like in these joyful belly laughs, which I don't remember having woken up laughing from a dream since. Okay, there was maybe one or a couple times during, my teenage 20s, and I don't want to date myself, but I'm in my late 30s now. In my 30s, it's been more and more rare. But when I was a child, I remember often, once a week, I would wake up in hysterical laughter just for the joy of life. I don't even know what I was laughing at, or what dream caused it, or why I would wake up laughing. My mother would tell me sometimes, she would say, "You were laughing again," So
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, but well, just the energy that came to me as you were saying that is, it's as if like the energy in you couldn't wait to get out. And it's just like, okay, as soon as this thing's on, as soon as that window opens, I'm gonna burst through that thing and be, right? So it's like as soon as you had consciousness, it's like boom, it switched on, right? And it was like right on the edge this whole time, just revving. You know what I'm saying? So
I like
green
that.
light. It's a green light, you know. Well, I think that speaks to
Childhood does that.
how open of a channel you are too.
Mm.
I think it's just
Doing my
just
best,
come out.
it ebbs and
Yeah.
flows, but I
Yeah.
think that the more that I the more I open up and trust, despite what the news says, or despite what even if it's not the popular thing to do, I think we still have to show up and be as authentic to our own meter of what that means. So that's my intention.
Yeah, and thank you for honoring the dream, especially the dreams of a child. It's a question I ask all of my guests, and it's a question I just feel like childhood dreams should be honored more.
That's beautiful.
Shouts out to
I'm
Bond.
glad
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
asking that.
Yeah, shouts out to Vita as well. They're just like my past guests have really highlighted that. It's a big thing for sure. And was there someone in your life that you knew actually that was a great mentor for you, who really helped guide you and made you the person who you are today?
Yeah, I actually had a couple of amazing mentors, and we're always shaped more so by the village than I think we acknowledge. Obviously our parents are the anchor, but when I was about 4 or 5 when a babysitter who then ended up moving in with us because she and I became so close, Corinne, and she's a Belgian woman who lived and grew up in Africa and lives in South Africa now still. She would just, I don't know, it was like anytime my parents were working or weren't able to be with me, or maybe, I don't even know, she just always felt like, and she was there for years as a part of our family. Not living with us for that whole time by any means, but she was just kind of, she was a part of the farm and a part of my family. And so shout out to Corinne, just for being so much fun and being willing to take me on all those adventures. And then I had a bunch of, I've had a bunch of mentors in my teenage years, which really opened me up to the world of knowledge and books, and just exposed me to the deeper parts of entertainment, theater, all those things. But I'll give a shout out to Corinne in this moment.
Definitely. And I want to take that and turn it into an invitation for everybody to just notice your mentors. Who are the people that have laid down the path, who maybe gave you some hints so you can easier find your way? That just helped you out in that way. And how might we be already repaying that? How might we be paying that forward already? And as the mentor to somebody, right?
That's dope.
Where are you full circle with that?
Great reminder.
Freedom must flow. You know what I mean? So right, we in it. So beautiful, man. I'm learning so much about your story, and I'm curious as to was there after you were 8 years old, because that was a monumental moment, was there another monumental moment that really was like, wow, this changed me right here, and how did it impact you?
Well, not too far from that same time frame. So there's a couple of really profound moments. One, I'll just try and be brief about it, but just to say that, I was actually, and I've started to share this only in the last 10 years with the public, but I was targeted for being Jewish and beat up. There was a couple incidences of a local neo-Nazi group that I didn't realize was even a thing. I was sort of a happy-go-lucky kid until and And I will say my mother was doing public health care work during the war in Nicaragua when I was 7 turning 8. So also in that time, I actually went to a war zone that completely opened my eyes to the way that the world operates and, some of the devastating impacts of American foreign policy and capitalism. And my mom was working at an orphanage, and I fell in love with kids that should never have been my friends. And yet they were the kindest, most spirited, from the worst conditions. I mean, my best friend was blind with one leg, and he was a joy. He and I laughed and so that was a big, that one. And then also being beat up and being taught about, just the ways that this society and the world discriminates, and experiencing that firsthand. That story was, I've memorialized that through music and a short film. But yeah, just to say, like, that was a big shift for me to be more compassionate and better solidarity with those that have to deal with that shit every day. Because I'm at least as a lighter skinned Jew who's walking around carrying all my white privilege, I'm not dealing with the levels of racism, but I was targeted, and I experienced that. And I think that firsthand experience is nothing like that to really open up and both break our hearts, but also build compassion.
You spoke to it right there where I was going to go with it. I love how you framed, I've memorialized that, and we only do that to things that have passed. I've noticed that, right? And which, you're like, and I also want to point out that some people might have experienced similar things that you have, and it's still living and breathing and dominating them.
Yeah.
And it scarred them in such a deep way. And with that, I want to send out another invitation. Where are these incidents, these traumatizations, this, of systematic oppression or whatever it was that you were scarred by? Where does that still reside in you? That maybe needs some love and attention to find its way to out of you, so we can therefore start to memorialize that for ourselves and move on. And fortunately, my friend here has music, songs, movies, has so much skill. Notice what he's doing. Notice how he's using his medicine on himself. It's self-administration, right? You've learned to self-soothe in such a way that you can't be stopped. And it's a beautiful thing I want to highlight right there. So thank you. Thank you. Blessings. And we're going to continue with some tenor saw right here. Ring the alarm. And this tenor saw story is dope. But at 19, your boy was rocking stages, and as a teenager. So big ups to the youths, them. Tenor saw, ring the alarm. We'll be back with Aaron, and then that poem piece from Hughes Live, piece of radio.
Hey, ring the alarm. Hey, whoa. Ring the alarm. Another sound is dying. Whoa. Hey, ring the alarm. Another sound is dying. Whoa. Hey, some sound like a big jump on. Listen to sound, it's a champion. Rock the dance in any session. Rock up the woman and rock up the man. Ring the alarm. Another sound is dying. Whoa. Hey, ring the alarm. Another sound is dying. Whoa. Hey, Tato, we beat them all in a row. Donkey want water, but you hold him Joe. Tato, we beat them all in a row. The cost want water, but hold him Joe. Ring the alarm, another sound is dying. Whoa, hey, ring the alarm, another sound is dying. Whoa, hey, 4 big sound in a 1 big lawn. The dance sound a play, the other 3 keep calm. 4 big sound in a 1 big lawn. The boom sound I play, the other 3 feet come. Ring the alarm, another sound is dying. Whoa, hey, remember this sound, it's a talk of the town, talk of the country. Hey, rock Mr. Charlie, rock Miss Munch. she talk of the country. So ring the alarm, another sound is dying. I know, ring the alarm, another sound is suffering. Whoa, hey, watch the sound man a timber, watch the sound man a pray, watch the sound man a timber, watch the sound man a pray. Ring the alarm, another sound is dying. I know, ring the alarm, another sound is suffering. Whoa, hey, a little of this sound, a little of that. Rock is the calm and rock is the battle. Rock the white and rock up the black. Sweet reggae music on the attack, yes. On the attack it on the attack. Sweet reggae music on straight non-stop. Ring the alarm, another sound is dying. Whoa, hey, ring the alarm, another sound is suffering. Whoa, hey, some sound like a big jump on. Listen this sound, it's a champion. Run the dance in any session. Rock the woman and move up the man. Ring the alarm, another sound is suffering. Whoa, hey, ring the alarm, another sound is dying. Whoa, hey, beat them there, we beat them there. We beat them all over this atmosphere.
Our next guest is from Kingston, Jamaica. Please give it up for the original Muta Baroka.
This poem shall speak of the wretched sea that washed ships to these shores, of mothers crying for their young swallowed up by the sea. This poem shall say nothing new. This poem shall speak of time, time unlimited, time undefined. This poem shall call names like Lumumba, Kenyatta, Nkrumah, Hannibal, Akhenaton, Malcolm, Garvey, Haile Selassie. This poem is vexed about apartheid, racism, fascism, the Ku Klux Klan, riots in Brixton, Atlanta, Jim Jones. This poem is revolting against first world, second world, third world, division, man-made decision. This poem is like all the rest. This poem will not be amongst great literary works, will not be recited by poetry enthusiasts. It will not be quoted by politicians or men of religions. This poem is knives, bombs, guns, blood, fire, blazing for freedom. Yes, this poem is a drum, Ashanti, Ma, Igbo, Yoruba, Nyabingi warriors, Yohuro, Namibia, Yohuro Soweto, Yohuro Africa. This poem will not change things. This poem need to be changed. This poem is a rebirth of a people, a rising, awakening, understanding. This poem speaks, is speaking, have spoken. This poem shall continue even when poets have stopped writing. This poem shall survive, you, me. It shall linger in history, in your mind, in time, forever. This poem is time, only time will tell. This poem is still not written. This poem has no poet. This poem is just a part of the story. His story, her story, our story. The story is still untold. This poem is now ringing, talking, irritating, making you want to stop it. But this poem will not stop. This poem is long, cannot be short. This poem cannot be tamed, cannot be blamed. The story is still not told about this poem. This poem is old, new. This poem was copied from the Bible, your prayer book, Playboy magazines, the New York Times, Reader's Digest, the CIA files, the KGB files. This poem is no secret. This poem shall be called boring, stupid, senseless. This poem is watching you trying to make sense from this poem. This poem is messing up your brains, making you want to stop listening to this poem. But you shall not stop listening this poem. You need to know what will be said next in this poem. This poem shall disappoint you because this poem is to be continued in your mind. In your mind.
Snaps.
You just heard Tenasa with Ring the Alarm, and then that was a poem by the Poem of the Night by Muta Baruka, this poem. And we're here with Aaron Ableman, and what did you think about that, man?
Oh, that was dope. I don't even. Yeah, I don't have words for this poem. That was just incredible. But yeah, when you think about the power of the word sound power, and just what that does as a means for communication, for revolution, for all of it. I mean, that's really the way. And so I stand by that craft. Beautiful voice too.
Yeah, there was a way that he was just so in the vibration, right? It was just that poem is a vibe, and it all is a vibe. Like, you could have just said that, but it was but we wouldn't have got it right. It was better displayed through all the other things. And he used, I believe it was like in the same line, the Bible and Playboy magazine. I was like, oh, what a juxtaposition of, like, that makes so much sense, because we all are that. Yeah, we encompass all that, right? Like, I have music, balance, shine, right? It's I have to be both. And I can't deny one or the other, or there's no balance, and it actually doesn't really exist, or it might just be a short-term thing, right? So,
shadow and the light, yin and yang.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share about that piece?
Oh, it was nice to hear my old friend and collaborator. I had the blessing of working with Yasin Bey for a couple years, and just a beautiful soul. He did the intro, but yes. the poem, I'm gonna need to meditate on that. But I loved at the end that it was predicting thought. It was predicting what our judgments, what our thought sphere or
our temperature, right? Like how we were feeling at the moment. Yeah.
It was brilliantly constructed in that sense.
Yeah, it's almost like this poem is gauging you as you're gauging it. It's looking at you as you're looking at it. It's listening to you as you're listening to it.
The observer and the observed.
Yeah, right. Nice, awesome. And I don't know if you know the plan or anything, but you're like weaving into where we're going, right? Yes, that was Yasin Bey. That was a clip from Deaf Poetry, right? And
okay, that's what it was.
Yeah, and I was gonna just kind of transition into that too. I feel like I remember meeting you, and then you popped up again in the Soul Shop office, or your name. It was just like, oh, Pacha's Pajamas, boom. And I was like, okay, oh, that's my boy. I know that. And there's people right now like, Pacha's what? What? Huh? Right. Yasin Bey, what? Kwali, huh? I mean, Kwali, that was like Lenubian. There's Cheech, right? On that piece. So please, if you wouldn't mind sharing that, was that 2016, 17, like around that time?
Actually, it was before that. It was, I started working on a children's hip hop musical way back, long before it even became that. It was an oral storytelling device as a way to engage the students I was working with in schools as well. Yeah, both you and I share that of having worked a lot in the school system, myself also internationally, and a lot of failure, a lot of struggle. But I always found that by bringing in storytelling and hip hop, that all of a sudden that what I was talking about wasn't as important as how I was talking about it. And so I realized, I think at an early age, as a young educator, that it was critical for me to use these popular cultural devices to connect with my students, and just to connect, I mean, really anybody. Because I was performing a lot. Anyway, fast forward, I ended up, one of the stories that emerged at that time was called Pachamama's Pajamas. And that was about a child who takes these dream adventures in her magic pajamas. And each dream adventure is a different exploration of the world and herself, and the characters come to life off the PJs, and they end up being, collaborators and emissaries and villains on her path. And the first story was where all the plants and the animals from her PJs, and then they organized the whole world to throw a giant nature festival. And for whatever reason, it just really resonated with a lot of people, everyone I was presenting to. And I was fortunate to meet a great collaborator who partnered with me, and we formed an edutainment company and basically built this as our flagship property and started a company around it and struggled. But we built this whole project for children. And over the course of time, I think, we must have reached, definitely it was over 1 million children. And I worked with, I was on the double volume album we did. There was a book. The double volume album won a lot of awards. The whole project won a lot of awards. But I was able to work with a lot of my heroes, including, Mos Def and Talib Kweli, and 70 artists of 4 generations from all different, like I'm talking about from 5-year-olds with stuttering problems, rapping, to Lester Chambers and, from the Chambers brothers to, like you said, Cheech Marin and some of these bigger known names. But for me, it was just like, wow, again, the power of story and song, the power of culture. It's just a unifying thing that we can all rally together. And hopefully, if there's enough generosity and enough resources to keep the lights on, then we all can really do something together. That was my perspective. But yeah, it came out of, my lifetime of work, and then also having been exposed to a lot of the plant medicine traditions, and having been kind of mentored and supported by some spiritual elders who said, yes, we want this story and this dream to reach the North, so to speak. And so I became kind of a bridge for that. And hopefully there's still some things bubbling around that project that I hope will, make another splash.
I think I saw on the site when I looked it up, there's an app now, and there's, what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So I feel like
there's an augmented reality app and all this crazy-ish. But it's really cool. And I've kind of built on that model myself, and working more in the film and television world, mainly because there's so much potential in reaching lots and lots of people with stories. And I encourage as many storytellers from as many parts of the world to continue to just put your work out there as best you can, whatever way you can.
So thank you for taking on that next invitation as well. Like, and I just want to add on to that by tell your story. That's my invitation for everybody there. Find a way to tell your story, whether it's through a song, poem, because your story is important. Your story is you. You are important, and it is all divine. So, and I'm in a place right now where I'm feeling like, wow, possibly people will only honor my story to the degree in which I honor it.
Whoa.
So if it's the most sacred thing to me, it's held and delivered as such, then there's no more words for it. It just is. So that's my invitation for y'all.
Beautifully said, man. That's really deep. Yeah.
Well, that's true. I would imagine that some people going out there with the negative kind of, no one cares. Say, well, do you care? Where's that coming? It's coming from the same place. It's like, it's like people have to, people need to know this. That's coming from the place of like, that it means that much to me. That this isn't all for me. You know what I'm saying? It had y'all name on it.
Yeah. Yes, that's interesting. I've got a really exciting new project.
Yeah. Please, let's get into it. Yeah, what are you doing now?
Well, so this is, you can't really, it just looks like the stars.
Closer. Oh, that's, whoa.
This is
nice.
Called Welcome to Earth, Love Letters to My Child and Practices for Families. And it's a collection of 365 letters I wrote my daughter every day of her first year.
Wow.
followed by a meditation or a game or an activity for parents. So it's really about, and even more specifically about supporting fathers, because there is a fatherhood crisis. And I think that, you know, I think every parent wants to do the best they possibly can, obviously. And I would never, ever shame anybody, because we're all struggling to raise the next generation, and not only struggling, but doing it. So let me preface by saying that. And fathers are a really important piece of the family, critical piece in whatever your constellation looks like. So I put this together as a collection of 365 letters from a father to his daughter, written every day of her first year. And then, it's this mashup of entertaining storytelling and intuitive games and meditations and somatic based work that I hope will bring more creativity and self-care into the parenting journey. Because I think that parents, you know, we love our kids. We're all here for the kids. And if we don't step up our parenting game at large, that's the real transformation for me, is how we pass on the best of ourselves to the next generation. Not saying that we're all going to make mistakes endlessly. That's just what we do, especially with our primary relationships. But that's why we need mindfulness. That's why we need art in the household. That's why we need nature, to connect to, or sports, or whatever it is for, so that's kind of the mission of this project. And there's an album with it. There's a meditation album too. There's all sorts of things happening around this project that I'm really excited to share with and circulate. And that book's dropping this September for World Literacy Day. So I'll ask everybody to check out, tune in with me, and just stay in touch.
That's what's up. You spoke to it right there. I don't think I even said this yet on this episode. So, the freedom flow is where we savor the moments in our flow of life to find the freedom for our growth. And, I'm just imagining how honored your daughter's going to be to have like this journal of her father loving her to that extent. Like, you love her so much that you can use it as an example of the way the world can love itself, to love their children. Right? It's like a model. Right. And
that's
I had no idea. Yeah, I need to cop that book. I need to, when I look at it, I wish, I'm like, I wish I would have done that for my daughter, but I'm doing things on other levels. So thank you. Yeah.
And we all have whatever. It's not, that just happens to be my craft and my way of processing. Like, oh my God, this shit is the craziest thing ever. I'm responsible for a whole life, for the rest of my existence. She will play no matter what happens, whether we die tomorrow or we, that is my primary obligation. So, and she was born, 10 days after Trump stole the election. So it was crazy. Like it was,
boom.
That was it was a big thing. So I wanted to write about it. And I'm glad that, I can share it and hopefully it circulates.
Yeah. And I feel as if it's a matter of, it's word of mouth for right now. It's a matter of like how we get it into the right spaces. And it's all a matter, I feel, of how much it means to you. Just like I said, right.
Yeah.
If it's delivered with that passion, it'll land in the passionate places of people and activate that. That's just how nature works, So I'm inspired. And if you're inspired out there, like I am, I invite you to, just notice where can you be capturing some of that greatness for you when you look back at it, and you can be proud and have a heart and shoulders high, like my friend over here, Mr. Ableman. And we're gonna get things wrapped up over here in a second, but wow. And just, how's Erica doing, man? I just want to say, just make sure she gets some love. And I want to thank her for sharing her with sharing you with us.
The mama.
Yeah, for sure.
She's great. And, we're doing our thing. We're we're practicing love every day. You know, that's just what it is. We're just doing our best, and it's been amazing to have a garden during the pandemic, even a little tiny garden. So we've been she's cooking up a storm. I'm cooking a lot too. We both love food. That's a unifying factor for our family too, like everybody. But yeah, just the garden and cooking, and we just, trying to just build as much creativity in our little house so we can model some of what the message is out there.
So you got this background you have here, and you're saying that you have it for your show. What's your show? How might the listeners of Freedom Flow and KCBZ Radio be like, what's he doing over here?
Yeah.
I need to subscribe.
Right. Well, it's you're wondering what this cosmic Earth behind the guest tonight. But actually, it's a show based on my book. It's called Welcome to Earth, and the show is Adventures in Modern Family Life. And so I just have all these incredible folks like yourself, Randy, just pop on talking about their family influence, all the different aspects of their childhood, what they do in the world, how they've brought their inspiration and or struggles from family life into their professional life. So it's a lot of conversation around family, and we're just trying to, just be vulnerable and open up. We're talking about all sorts of things. And it's a podcast. It's a podcast.
How do I get on? How do I get on?
Yeah, you're next.
Yeah, we'll get on it. We get on that. So how might anyone get plugged into that if they can't wait to put it in their schedule?
Yeah, so AaronAbleman.com. Also find Welcome to Earth on all the streaming. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on Spotify. I've got a bunch of music that's constantly dropping too, just around all these themes, new single, and I'm exploring the NFT realm, which is a crazy new technology that a lot of artists are using. For Father's Day, doing an NFT collection, adapting from the line drawings in the book. So just hustling, man, trying to do it all with what little time I have. And I'm really grateful to be here with you and your listeners too, because each one of you listener out there it's an interactive experience. So I hope folks are inspired by all the greatness that Randy's bringing out.
Oh yeah, blessings so much. I want to say thank you to you as well. It's been awesome watching you, just watching your career, just watching the things that you're doing, and the times we get to kind of intermittently kind of be in each other's lives. And I hope for that to happen more. I had to play with your daughter once, and I was like, oh man, that wasn't enough. She's so awesome. Yeah. I'd love you.
Come to the garden now that things are opening up. There's a little bit more interactivity that's possible. We don't have to be so isolated.
True, it did feel weird last time, but we still made it happen. I get it. but let's let the time pass. And so yeah, thank you so much, Aaron. You're definitely someone you're definitely someone I would come to if fatherhood gets difficult, and in these times of my daughter's teenage years. As many teenagers as I've worked with it's nothing like my own. So I might come and call you, and I might have to call upon you, and I just trust that our hearts will be aligned in that moment. So thank you.
I'm there if you need it, for sure. Definitely.
As I would,
and
I'll be there for you. Yeah,
you have more wisdom than I, but yeah, definitely.
And it's not the wisdom I might be in need of at that moment too. So I just thank you for that, for noticing that. And if you want to be part of the flow, please hit us up at the #1 freedom, the #1 flow @gmail.com. And please stay tuned for Melanated and Spiritually Woke with Adorable Earth Angel. And once again, shouts out to Situation and Circumstance. Shouts out to everybody out there. And shouts out to Jamaica. Straight up, this episode was for you and everything you've been through, and Soul Rebels. I was part of this group called Soul Roast. How I met Amani, our mutual friend, and you know, I learned so much about my own soul and I learned what it was to actually rebel by learning more about the Jamaican culture. So I want to thank that, and you know, I if not for that, I would still be trapped up in Babylon, straight up and down. Now I'm freeing myself and freeing others with me, and if I ever grow weary, I will know that Jah is by my side, because Tony Rebel told me, which is what we're going to transition to. So y'all, be well, be strong, be safe, heal, be your medicine, and have a great rest of the moments of your life. This is Repertoire signing off. Thank you, Aaron. Blessings. Casey, ready. See y'all next episode.
If Jah is by my side, I won't hide. No, I won't hide.
Come on. Look.
This a junior bum. This a junior bum. This a junior bum. If Jah is standing by my side, then why should I be afraid of a pestilence that crawleth by night? If Jah is standing by my side, then why should I be afraid of a pestilence that crawleth by night? Your best you try to harm me and I, aiming to kill, but I love you still, 'cause you are here to make prophecy fulfill. It's your will. No weapon that form against me, desire shall not be. Divine protection shall set my soul free. Talk to me. Jah is standing by my side, then why should I be afraid of a pestilence that crawleth by night? If Jah is standing by my side, then why should I be afraid of a pestilence that crawleth by night? The gates of hell can never prevail. From I know Jah, he never fail. What you think I'm gonna do? Keep up now? No, not go bow. My foes attack and I just smile. They don't seem to understand my style. My confidence is so high. In a Baba Janai, Jah is standing by my side. And then why should I be afraid of a pestilence that crawleth by night? If Jah is standing by my side, then why should I be afraid of a pestilence that crawleth by night? Boom, this a junior bum, this a junior bum, this a junior bum. So talk your talk and laugh your laugh, that won't shiver my heart. His secret tabernacle will guide I. Guess your guess and test your test. That is in your own interest, to find out the power of the Most High.